So today we'll be talking about overly pigmented blushes. Now, we all have those kind of blushes, the ones that we're kind of scared to dip into because they're just a little bit too red or pink or coral, and when you put them on your face, it turns into a clown face. Anyway, there's some methods to using these blushes to make a more flattering appearance. And we don't have to do light taps on our blushes, especially since we know our blushes will last forever. We kind of just want to use the product as generously as we can, but still achieve a nice look without overdoing it. So today I present to you the NARS Exhibit A blush. Now, this is as red a blush as you can imagine. This is like bright red. Let me swatch this for you. So it's a couple swipes there. It's like an orangey red, and on the hand, if you just swatch them, this is how it would look like on your cheeks. So it's like a very candy apple red, and I actually really love this color. It's a beautiful color in my opinion, but it will show up bright red on my cheeks if I just applied it onto my cheeks. So I have my foundation, concealer, and powder on, and I will show you how I deal with blushes that are pigmented as these. So you don't have to throw out your blushes that you find are too pigmented. There is a way to use them. So if you have any brush kind of loosely packed, and even if you didn't have a loosely packed brush, even if you have a more dense brush, this will still work, but maybe go about it with a lighter hand. So I have my blush, I have my brush. When we approach blushes, usually we go with a light tap and then just lightly put it on our face. I don't like to go that route because I like to try to use as much blush as I can. I have a lot of blushes that need to be used up and would probably take 20 years to use up. And so I like to go on with a heavier hand. I mean, I paid for the product, I might as well use as much as I can each day I use them, right? So just tap gently, don't smush your brush in it, but tap a generous amount of times, and then I actually swirl it on my wrist a little bit, and then I apply. So it's going on pretty bright already. And I like to concentrate the color mostly on my temples because the way my face is shaped, I do not visibly have cheekbones. My face is very round, so I try to concentrate more on the temples to kind of give it more of a sleek shape, because if I concentrate it on my cheekbones, it'll give me a rounder shape, which I am trying to avoid. My face is already round, so let's just apply it on the side. And so right now it looks crazy. It looks absolutely crazy. It's bright red on the side of my cheeks. So I applied it. Now I go over it with, you can either use a sponge or a brush that you use to apply foundation with. I'll use the sponge because it's easier to use in this case, and just tap over it. Sorry guys, quick tip before we continue with this video. The sponge should actually be pre-wet, okay? So this will not work without a wet sponge. Okay, thanks guys. To kind of like make it sink in. And so it's a little bit less bright. You can already see it's not as bright as it used to be. And now to add on top of that, we could add some powder. I usually use pressed powder. In this case, I'm using the Becca Be a Light, this one right here. I'll just lightly tap onto the powder and then lightly tap onto my face where the blush is. And it's looking a lot better already. Like I could wear this out and be fine with it. I don't have highlighter on just yet, so I'm just gonna add a highlighter real quick, just for a little bit of glow. I usually add a highlighter up here too. Okay. And now if you like a little bit more glow, because we did powder our blush, you could just get your sponge, and I use the MAC Fix Plus, the watermelon, but You could use any spray that you have. I also have the NYX Dewy Finish Spray, so I'll just use that. There's really no difference. So spritz the sponge a few times, just let it sink in, and then just tap lightly. And there we go. Now we have a glowy blush on our cheeks. The highlighter gives it a little something extra to make it glow. Okay, let's do the other side. So I do the same thing. Hopefully I can get it to match on each side. So my Exhibit A red blush. Just tap a few times. Just run it on my wrist a few times and then go. Apply on the cheeks. Just gonna concentrate it here on my temples. Okay, super bright red. It's like a pinky red going on right now. Just gonna concentrate it here. Okay. And now I'm gonna use, instead of the sponge that I used earlier, I'm gonna try it with the brush. So when I put on my foundation today, I went over it with a brush first, and then I went over with a sponge. So this also has some foundation. And then I'm just gonna lightly tap it onto where the blush is. Okay, just lightly. I do prefer a sponge when doing this, but in case that you don't have a sponge with you for some reason, you could still do it with a brush. Yeah, you could still do it with a brush. I'm just checking if there's any blush on my, it's a little bit, you can see a little bit pink, but it's not too bad. Okay, there, it's toned down a lot. Okay, and you could leave it like this, but my eye has a lot going on already because I have a neon orange on my eye. So we're gonna tone down the blush a little bit so we don't have too much going on. And so I grab my powder. It could be any powder. I haven't tried this with loose powder. I feel like if you want to tone it down a lot, loose powder would be great. If you just want to tone it down slightly, then pressed powder I think is the way to go. I've been using finishing powder because it's a little bit lighter, less coverage. But if you don't have finishing powder, your regular powder is fine because you can always adjust it. If you think your blush is toned down a little too much, you can go back and add more blush. That's not an issue. So you can customize it to the way you want. Okay, let's see if this two matches. Yeah, it kind of matches. Okay, just a little more. Okay, so I still have that orangey red. I think this is a little bit more toned down than this side. So yeah, the foundation brush doesn't tone it down as much as a sponge would. So just keep that in mind. But that's okay. I think that's good. Okay, and now I'm just gonna go over it again with my sponge and a setting spray. This time I'll use MAC Fix Plus just to show you that there's no difference. And again, you don't have to do this step if you don't want a glowy cheek. Oh, I forgot to put highlighter. It's okay, I'll put highlighter on top and go over it again. So it's the same thing with highlighter. If you think your highlighter is too strong, you don't want it super blinding, tap your brush into your highlight and then just swirl it a few times on your wrist to get some of the product off and then apply. So that'll tone it down a little bit. Okay, and I like to actually go over the tops of my forehead with the spray. And there you go. So any other pigmented blushes, it doesn't have to be a NARS blush. I know some of the e.l.f. blushes are super pigmented. You could try it with those. And so I'll also give you a shot outside just to show you this doesn't actually look crazy. I have natural light right now. I don't have a ring light. So hopefully what you see is what you would be seeing if you saw me in real life. But to prove it to you, I'll briefly take a video outside. Not too obvious that the blush is there. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video and maybe want to see more content from me, please like this video and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. So you can what's it called? I forgot the word. I will briefly have a shot outside. I